They're not giving us money to pay for our lifestyle. They're just saying that it's okay for us to get it from the federal government.
This is a response to Jennifer Pollard's comments about students who really depend on financial aid in terms of student loans. She had said that, you know, loans aren't there to support our lifestyle, and that if you live off campus particularly, and you can't pay your rent, that you should get a part-time job.
I think it is ridiculous because I got tuition waiver, and no matter what, I don't have to pay for it. So I think it is so stupid, and I hate the comments made by Pollard, Jessica Pollard. She said we got the money for our lifestyle. I got the money to study here, and I think she's very uninformed because, like me, I'm an international student. I cannot get any part-time job to support my extra spending, like the unnecessary chaos made by the change of financial aid. I don't have the money for that.
A lot of students on campus already have part-time jobs, you know, and student loans are not, you know, enough to support some sort of lavish lifestyle in the condescending manner she had described it to be. And another point that is really important is there's a lot of teaching and graduate assistants on campus who get paid, you know, $10,000 to $15,000 a year to teach classes and have a stipend. And that's often not enough to cover their basic necessities, and they're not allowed to work off campus, but you know, somehow those who depend on a little bit extra financial aid, you know, can't do what she had suggested that they do. So how does she expect them to be able to pay for their bills if they can't even work outside of campus?
I know students who literally are not able to eat. Our TAs and graduate assistants who run our classes, for the most part at this university, are not able to eat. Under contract, they're not allowed to have outside employment while they're under contract as a TA or a graduate student, or actually as an adjunct. So they, unlike undergrad, don't have any recourse. They have to wait a whole month before they ever see any checks from the school, and many of them haven't gotten any notice. So they're coming to school thinking next week we're going to get our first paycheck, and they're finding out, no, they have to wait 2 more weeks. And now you have people who's supposed to be teaching classes coming into class hungry.
This attitude that students are this like privileged group of people that in some ways, yes, we are, right? It's great that we're getting an education, but at the same time, we're very much at the mercy of the federal government in some ways for our loans. We're at the mercy of big banks and predatory lenders, and we're at the mercy of the administration in a lot of ways. It's like some of the people who are here are saying, is like, we all heard that in 2 weeks there's going to be like Tripathi's like inauguration ceremony. We all heard that the football team got new uniforms. We all heard that Griner Hall opened. We all heard that ad drop deadlines changed. But very few people even saw this memo. I don't know if you've seen it, but the memo itself is actually extraordinarily confusing. There's like this table and it's not clear. Like, they're like, oh, the date that it's processed is going to depend on your academic unit, but then it doesn't tell you like how to figure out like your like what it's true for your academic unit. So it's like, I don't. And you know, Pollard in your guys' article admits like not enough maybe was done, and in some ways like she just took over in I think May, so not all of the onus for this is on her. Some of it is definitely on her predecessor, and definitely I would put the onus more on the sort of this university's culture. You know, this university's culture is, you know, you're the student in this like big machine of a university. You pay your tuition, you go to classes. And you know, if you keep your head down, you'll graduate on time. And in my opinion, that's not what the university is for. University is for discourse. University is a place where we should be able to come and have discussions about tough subjects. And I think that's changing slowly. I've been seeing a lot more, I think, especially like on the part of the student press. On the part of different student organizations, but especially the Graduate Student Association.
I think that the main problem is that it wasn't well communicated and there was no student input, to my knowledge, on these changes, and I think there really needed to be more of a conversation about this as to how it was going to affect students. Because if you're able to know, you know, that you're going to have to budget your spring money for this instance in the fall, then that would have been something you could have planned on. But a lot of students got some obscure email, you know, in November that most of us didn't read. I most certainly did not. And I talked to Josh Boston, and he's the former UB student representative on the council, and he wasn't even aware that this was going to happen this year. If your student representatives are not aware, how do you expect the majority of students on campus to be so as well? And it's more concerning that they didn't really advertise this like they would some sort of, you know, violent event on campus. You have these people like Pollard who just, you know, have this mentality that, you know, we're a bunch of spoiled children who are complaining about something that really isn't that big of a deal, because they don't know what it's like to struggle. They don't know what it's like to live off campus and have to pay for all of your own basic necessities. And this is an issue on our campus, but if you look at it, it's even a larger scale issue, you know, in other communities in this recession. It's a really big deal. I talked to my advisor yesterday about what was happening, and he wasn't even aware that this was happening and that students wouldn't be able to afford to buy their books at this period of time. You have this add drop period that's 1 week. You don't get your financial aid until the second week of classes maybe, and so you're supposed to decide if you want to take that course or not, and you can't even buy the books to see if you even want to read them, and that's the class you want. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.